And it's a 1-hour Newsmaker show. Today we start out with the Hornell Industrial Development Agency's Shawn Hogan. We're going to be talking about the president's speech last night, Governor Cuomo's reaction on CNN. We're also going to be talking about grants and loans and economic opportunities that people can take from the state. And so good to have you on, Shawn Hogan. Thank you for calling in.
It's good to be with you, Brian, and hopefully I can, impart some information to people, especially small business owners, and that will be helpful.
Shawn Hogan, Governor Andrew Cuomo was on with his brother Chris Cuomo on CNN last night. I thought this was interesting. The governor described these two things as a false choice.
It's a false choice to say public health or restart the economy, right? Nobody's going to make that choice. And by the way, if you have to make that choice, it's public health, all right? Because you cannot put a value on a human life. And nobody cares how long it takes to get the economy up and running if you actually saved lives. But, Christopher, there is an art form here, which is overlaying a public health strategy and an economic strategy. In other words, what we did is we just closed everything down as quickly as we could. Just shut all the doors, border all the windows. There was no art to what we did. There was no nuance. Is there a public health strategy that says, look, you can start to bring young people back to work? You can start to test and find out who had the virus and who resolved from the virus, and they can start to go back to work. And that's how we'll restart the economy, with a smart public health strategy.
Shawn Hogan.
Well, obviously, Andrew Cuomo really has a practical approach to it and makes a lot of sense. I mean, to just unilaterally reopen the economy without worrying about testing and putting a lot of people at risk is probably not the right way to go. Obviously, it isn't the right way to go based on science and on the public health officials that we rely on for that information. I think the governor has done an outstanding job, and this isn't a political statement. This isn't partisan. This is, watching him, I think, brings a sense of comfort to people, not only in New York State, but nationwide, because he's addressing the issues straightforward. He isn't pumping himself up. He's developing, his statements on science and facts. And that's all people want. They don't want fear. They don't want hyperbole. They want facts, and they want to know that someone's doing something about the situation. So I give the governor high marks for that, and I really do believe that the president should remove himself from the picture and let his coronavirus task force and the medical professionals address the public and not have it be so much about me.
Yeah, there was too much of that last night. The press conference got into, you guys in the press corps don't like me, and look at all the empty chairs and blah, blah, blah. People care about the coronavirus. Nobody cares about how many empty chairs there are in the press corps room. Getting back to the sound bites here, Shawn Hogan, with the Cuomo brothers last night. Governor Andrew Cuomo appearing with his brother Chris on CNN. Chris Cuomo was wondering what the president said about getting things going in a matter of weeks instead of a matter of months.
How can people make sense and reconcile these two things, that we're getting close to figuring out how to open things back up at the time that it seems to be getting even worse, and the idea that a month from today we may have the worst part of the capacity crisis, and the president saying he's going to reopen things in a week or so? It just doesn't seem like those can go together. Yeah, well, look, the so-called walk and chew gum. Do we have to think about restarting the economy? Yes. Do we have to plan for it? Yes. Should we be thinking about a public health strategy that actually starts the economy? That, to me, is the art form for government in this situation.
So I would take that from Governor Andrew Cuomo that the answer is yes, we should be thinking about how to restart the economy at this point, and he is, as you can tell from his last answer about letting the people who have tested negative back to work, Shawn.
Right. Well, I think he's got a larger approach than just reopening the economy. He's basing it on science and testing, and you got to have the testing. And he knows, he says, younger people, and we got to make sure that the people are healthy, that if and when they reopen the economy are back into work. And do it on a scientific basis. And, I think we all understand the economy has got to reopen, and the sooner the better. But you can't do it at the peril of more people getting sick and more people dying. It's got to be an intelligent approach. And I think if everyone works together, they can get there. But it's too early at this juncture. We're not even through the first phase of this 15-day social distancing separation. And so, I think we need a little more time, and we need a little more science, and we need a little more thought into the process.
Talking with Shawn Hogan on the 1 Hour Newsmaker show today. Shawn Hogan, big question that people are facing, and Congressman Tom Reed addressed this last night as far as legislation that the Problem Solvers Caucus is working on in Washington that they're hoping to get passed with all this crazy gridlock in Washington and crazy arguing that they're having right now, which is not the time for that kind of thing. But anyways, reason we wanted to have you on the show this morning, the big reason is to talk about the loans, the grants, what people can in small businesses listening, what kind of help can they get, Shawn Hogan?
Well, a major development is when the president declared New York State a disaster area. That opens a whole lockbox of things for small businesses in our state, whether it be restaurants or hotels or catering facilities or things of that nature. You have to go online and see what's available. SBA.gov. Even for people in agriculture, if they're damaged in a way, you can go to USDA and rural development. So there'll be a lot of programs out there. As far as the larger businesses, obviously we have to wait and see what the economic package is that comes out of the stimulus package that comes out of Washington. And I hope, and hopefully that will come out today. And I think either side, whether it be Democrat or Republican, trying to put items in that legislation that are special interest in any way, whether it be Green New Deal or more tax credits for big businesses, et cetera. All that stuff should go away. What should they be focused on? Number one is economic security for American families, giving them the resources so they can feed their families and pay their bills. Number two, they should be concentrating on businesses and how they can keep people on their payroll and not lay them off. And number three, aid to municipalities and states whose budgets will be busted, whether it's New York State or whether it's the city of Hornell or whether it's the town of Alfred or the village of Alfred. Budgets will be under stress. And if you're going to restart the economy, now is not the time to have to raise taxes at the local level of any level. We need that priming the pump is an old adage, whether it was from the 1929 and the New Deal with Franklin Roosevelt. Priming the pump is the key to restarting and to keeping our economy from total devastation. And that's what should be coming out of Washington. Not only that, but aid to our hospitals. We have to keep our hospitals open. Like I said, on March 6th, when the St. James opened, there's been 113 rural hospitals that have closed in this country prior to the coronavirus pandemic. We've got to make sure that we stem that tide and no more rural hospitals close. No, we're fortunate in New York that we have a brand new in Hornell, New York, we have a brand new hospital, fully staffed, and with great medical professionals. So we're fortunate in that. But there's so many other areas in this state or in this nation that don't have that level of comfort. So that will happen today. I hope the federal government, which should go a long way to alleviate fears of people. For those who have already been furloughed and laid off, you can unemployment insurance benefits. We're looking to see what comes out of the federal government as far as how long they will be and how difficult it's going to be to get them. I know a lot of people have had a hard time filing for unemployment insurance online because of just the sheer numbers of trying to get through online to the appropriate officials. Hopefully that will dissipate. But at this point in time, Empire State Development, if you go online, Empire State Development, .newyork.gov, they have a whole litany of programs and things you can look at as far as larger business. I know a number of businesses here locally have applied for and received essential business designation, and there's a whole list of what's considered a essential business, and that's available. I've shared that with you on your station.
Yeah, we post those every time you send those, Shawn Hogan. Every time you send those, we post those right up on WLEA.net, and they're from the Empire State Development Corporation. Shawn Hogan, what about small business disaster loans, where people can get, up to $2 million?
Right. You can, obviously, that the disaster declaration the president declared for New York opens up a lot of doors for a lot of small businesses. I can't tell you which pigeonhole would go in. There's many programs under SBA that would help the businesses. Some are outright grants, some are loans, etc. But you would have to go. I urge every small business who has been affected by this coronavirus pandemic to go online to SBA.gov, Small Business Administration, and review what's out there and to see what can be done. And this would be whether you're a barbershop, a beauty salon, or whether you're a restaurant or anyone that's been impacted. And start documenting how you've been impacting the loss of business, the percentages, things like that. Document everything because I'm sure you're going to need that. But there are programs now available for small business. I don't know. I don't run the programs, and I don't know how long it takes. But at least there is some relief that's available. I believe there'll be more coming with the stimulus package once that comes out of Washington, and I hope it comes today. And like I said, they've got to forget about special interest legislation. Remove all that, all the stuff, whether it's, for special interest, that should not be a part of this bill. It should be for economic security for families, checks going directly to families. It should be for economic security for business, small business particularly, and there should be some controls over it as far as reporting and what they do with it. There was a whole bunch of criticism back in the bailout in 2008 where all this money went to these big industries. They didn't keep people on the payroll. What they did was buy back stock to shore up their stock prices, and still people suffered. This is the argument that's going on in Washington now. There's got to be some protections, and there's got to be some guidelines that corporations just don't take the money and don't do anything positive with it. We've lived that. We've seen that before in 2008. That's what the argument is. There needs to be some control, some guardrails on this money, particularly for the big business. And if they're going to get aid, then they should be able to keep their employees on the payroll for a certain amount of time to help the economy, and not just buy back stock and give bonuses to their CEOs and their big executives. They're not going anywhere. So let's be real about this. Let's be practical. Let's be smart. And hopefully that legislation will come out today, and people will start seeing, the relief that they need to see. I worry most about those people who are living paycheck to paycheck, where they're running out of resources, and they got to feed their families. They've got to pay their bills and pay their mortgages. There is relief out there. They have a lot of banking institutions, particularly in New York State, have given a 3-month hiatus on mortgage payments and things of that nature. You should check with your lending institution where you have your mortgage. Check with them and see how you go about applying for that relief. And when you are saying why you need this relief, is because you've been affected economically by the coronavirus. Just don't say, hey, I'm just going to take a holiday. You have to have been affected by the coronavirus pandemic. And, articulate that to your lending institutions and saying that you want to take advantage of this relief. There are already people who are paying student loans. They've already waived the interest payments on student loans. And there's also a part in this legislation that would, forgive some student loans. Whether that makes it in the legislation or not, I don't know. But be mindful. Don't just mindlessly use the internet wisely. Don't just mindlessly scroll through Facebook or make funny posts. Go to these websites and find out what's available to help you get through this crisis.
Talking to Shawn Hogan, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in 30 seconds. Stay with us.
Worlds collide during Ram Truck Month and the Jeep Celebration event all month at Maple City Dodge in Hornell. Buy a 2020 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo as low as $31,499. Price includes lease, loyalty, and first responder rebate. Or lease a 2020 Ram Warlock V6, 10,000-mile lease, only $324 a month, plus tax and fees. Price includes lease, loyalty, and first responder rebate. While supplies last, hurry to Maple City Dodge for a test drive. Maple City Dodge, get the real deal every time.
Back with Shawn Hogan from the Hornell Industrial Development Agency. We talked about different websites in the first segment that would help people out, Shawn. Small Business Administration's website is SBA.gov. The Empire State Development Corporation is ESD.NY.gov. And
ESD.NewYork.gov, Empire State Development. Yeah, and you'll get a lot of information on there. And also the necessary forms you need to fill out and request designation as an essential business. Now, I gave you that list. There's a whole list of there what could be considered to be essential businesses. And that would be up to the individual businesses to apply for that. And you can do that online. Like I said, we had a number of businesses involved in the transportation industry in Hornell. They all applied, and they were given status as an essential business, so they can operate. They can operate under the guidelines of keeping people safe and practicing social distances, but they didn't have to close completely, which is good news for our local economy. But there are businesses out there that wondering if they are considered an essential business. There's a list there. You can go through that list. And also, there's the paperwork you can fill out. It's a one-page form you can fill out and send it to Empire State Development, and you can and they will get a quick turnaround determining and give you a determination whether you are considered an essential business and whether they grant that designation. So that's out there. It can happen. It has happened. And I encourage businesses, if you have any doubt whatsoever, to check out that website.
We've been speaking with Shawn Hogan here in this 1 hour Newsmaker show. Dr. Gary Osterauer coming up in a few minutes. Shawn Hogan, as you know, I'm sure we interrupt a lot of our regular programming for both President Donald Trump's press conferences and Governor Andrew Cuomo's press conferences. I'll have to check my email in a second here to see if Governor Andrew Cuomo has just answering the phone here with Dr. Gary Osterauer to see if Governor Andrew Cuomo sent out an announcement that he's having a press conference this morning. He's been having them for the past several days in the 10 o'clock hour, and like I just said, we like to break in with those. Shawn Hogan, anytime you want to come on, anything you ever need to discuss, you know how to find us.
Right. I just want, the small businesses out there to be mindful that there is assistance, and with the disaster declaration, SBA.gov, there's a whole myriad of programs that could be of assistance. So, check it out and, be on the alert for programs that could be of assistance.
Shawn Hogan, I want to thank you so much for joining us, and people can contact the IDA too, I'm guessing?
Yeah, obviously the office is closed, no public traffic, but if people want to contact, they can call 324-0310, or they can call my cell phone, 968-6180.
324-0310 or Shawn's cell at 968-6180. Shawn, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And we have Dr. Gary Osterauer on the other line. We'll be with him in just a moment here on the Newsmaker Show. Stay with us.